Imagine this: the phone in your hand, the pasta you buy from the market, even the car parts you use. The prices of all of them could change overnight because global trade is no longer being rewritten solely by invisible market rules, but directly by taxes imposed by states. The discussions in the U.S. regarding raising customs duties to the 15% level are not merely a foreign policy maneuver. They are a breaking point that could radically transform the global price formation mechanism. Modern global economy, especially after the 1990s, was based on the assumption that production should occur where it is cheapest, and that goods should circulate globally with minimum obstacles. This model formed the basis of globalization, which gained momentum in the post-Cold War era. The establishment of the World Trade Organization, WTO, in 1995, the gradual lowering of tariffs, and multinational corporations shifting production to Asia were the main building blocks of this process. With China joining the WTO in 2001, global production chains were virtually remapped. While the US and Europe focused on high value-added design and technology, countries like China, Vietnam, Mexico, and Eastern European nations transformed into production hubs. However, this integration model has begun to experience a serious rupture in the last decade. The 2008 global financial crisis exposed the vulnerabilities of countries regarding foreign dependency. Subsequently, the trade war that began between the US and China in 2018 showed that tariffs could once again be used as a geopolitical tool. The U.S. administration applied additional customs duties to hundreds of billions of dollars worth of Chinese origin products. China retaliated. Thus, the global trade system faced the most serious wave of protectionism of the post-Cold War era. The idea of a 15% general customs duty being discussed today represents an even more radicalized stage of this process. When such a step is taken, the effects are not limited only to importing firms. A gradual cost increase occurs throughout the entire supply chain. For example, a semiconductor chip produced in China becomes 15% more expensive when entering the U.S. This chip increases the cost of an automobile assembled in the U.S. When the automobile is exported to Europe, the price is updated again. When the final consumer buys the product, they are actually paying for the cumulative effect of global trade policies rather than just the production cost. In economic history, such developments are defined as the return of protectionism. The most striking example of this is the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act, which came into force in the U.S. in 1930. Under the impact of the Great Depression, the U.S. introduced high customs duties on thousands of products to protect domestic producers. However, the result was contrary to expectations. Trade partners retaliated. Global trade volume shrank dramatically within a few years, and the global economic stagnation deepened. Today, historical memory warns by recalling this experience. Tariffs can suppress not only the rival, but also global demand. In the 21st century, the picture is more complex, because production no longer takes place in a single country, but in multi-layered global supply networks. The design of a smartphone can be done in the US, its processor can be produced in Taiwan, its assembly can be completed in China, and it can be sent to the European market. In such a fragmented structure, every tax applied affects not just one country, but the entire chain. This situation leads to the emergence of a new phenomenon called global cost inflation. The geopolitical dimension is at least as decisive as the economic dimension. The U.S. views reducing its dependence on China in critical sectors such as semiconductors, artificial intelligence hardware, and strategic minerals as a matter of national security. Similarly, the European Union has begun to emphasize the concept of strategic autonomy more frequently after the energy crisis. Concepts such as shortening supply chains, reshoring, shifting them to friendly countries, friendshoring, and regionalization, nearshoring, have frequently appeared in policy documents in recent years. The most prominent result of this transformation is the geographic refragmentation of production. Companies now make decisions based not only on cost advantage, but also on political risks, the possibility of sanctions, and trade barriers. For example, many technology firms have begun to shift part of their production in China to countries like Vietnam, India, and Mexico. While this trend increases costs in the short term, it aims to reduce supply risks in the long term. But there is a critical psychological threshold here: uncertainty. For economic decision makers, the element even more destructive than cost increase is the future becoming unpredictable. If companies cannot predict which tax will be applied to which country and when, they may postpone investment plans or act more cautiously. This situation reflects on the consumer as a slowdown in global investments, inefficiency in production capacity, and ultimately higher prices. Looking historically, trade wars have reshaped not only economic, but also political power balances. While the British Empire advocated for free trade in the 19th century, rising industrial powers like the US and Germany grew their own industries with protectionist policies. In the middle of the 20th century, the Bretton Woods system and GATT agreements encouraged the liberalization of trade by lowering tariffs. At the point reached today, the world is moving towards a trade architecture that is once again dividing into blocks. If a 15% wide-ranging customs duty wave becomes permanent, it will radically change not only prices, but also the consumer's perception of price. The figure we see on the label will no longer represent just the production cost. It will be a complex resultant that incorporates geopolitical tensions, trade negotiations, and national security strategies. In this new era, the global economy may evolve into a structure that is less integrated, more regional, and more political. Selective protectionism in strategic sectors may replace the absolute dominance of free trade. While this situation means the strengthening of domestic industry for some countries, it could be a costly transformation in terms of global efficiency. In conclusion, raising customs duties is not a simple fiscal policy tool. It is a systemic change that redefines the global production order, investment decisions, and consumer behavior. If this trend becomes permanent, the era of hyper-globalization that has persisted since the 1990s will leave its place to a more fragmented and competitive era of trade. Perhaps that is why the most striking reality of the new age is this: no product will be priced solely by the cost where it was produced, but along with the political atmosphere of the world in which it was produced.